Recursive functions are those that call themselves. We're going to look at the factorial, where you take a sequence of numbers and multiply them together, and we're going to show how we can use that in a recursive manner. So what I'm going to do to start with, I'm going to write the function and then we'll explain it in a bit more detail. So the function is going to be just simply factorial, and we're going to have an input parameter into that. It's going to be called n. So this is the values that we're multiplying up to, right? So for example, if we put n in there to be 4, let's say, it would multiply 4 by 3 by 2 by 1. If it was 5, it would be 5 by 4 by 3 by 2 by 1. And within that then, we're going to return n multiplied by factorial n minus 1. And as part of that as well, we're going to have to, it's going to have to stop recursing on itself at a certain point, and that certain point is when n equals 1. So at that point then, we just simply want to return 1. Otherwise, it's going to return n times factorial n minus 1. And let's call factorial. And let's say we're going to put in 5, right? So we multiply by 5 by 4 by 3 by 2 by 1. Let's run it through just so that we know that it works, and then we'll explain it again in a bit more detail. So let's run. That hasn't worked because you didn't print it out. So let's run again. It should print out the values this time. There we go, 120. So that's multiplying, as I said, 5 by 4 by 3 by 2 by 1. So let's break this down and try and understand what's going on here. So to start with, we put in factorial 5. So n is 5 to start with, right? So clearly then we don't execute that first block of code in lines 3 and 4. We go on to straight to line 6. And at that point then we multiply n, which is 5, by, but then we're recursively calling factorial. So then n minus 1, so that's going into 4. So 4 is the parameter that's being passed into that factorial. And then when n is 4, again, it executes line 6 again, and then factorial 3 is put in there. And then when factorial 3 is put in there, again, it's executing it with factorial 2, and then eventually it gets down to where n is 1, and then it returns 1, and then it returns all the other factorials going up a level each time, multiplying it by the value of n and returning those, and then eventually we get to the top level and it returns 120.